Well, folks, at long last, we finally reached the end of 2024. It's been an interesting year, I'd say. Our deluxe content, well, I think we've been good and consistent with it, admittedly towards the start. I mean, we were struggling to put videos out on time, but we've gotten better with that. Additionally, main channel, still managing to run pretty well at daily videos. So, I'd say the channel's in a pretty good place at the moment. In fact, both channels are. So, honestly, I'm quite glad we've reached the end of this year, as even in my personal life, stuff's been difficult, so, yeah. But, going back to content, we put a lot of content out this year. But, yeah, Friday's our last video of the year until next year, and then I think we resume content on, like, the 8th, so that'll be interesting. A lot of content we've done has been full route visuals, which for those unassociated are all these videos where I'll do the entire journey on one bus route from one end of the route to the other. Although, some FRVs were amazing and some were pretty rubbish. So, I thought, okay, we got to the end of the year, let's look back on how we did. Roll the intro. Okay, so how many FRVs did I do this year? Over 130. I did the entire journey on roughly 130 bus routes. Could this be an addiction? Okay, but genuinely, as for eligibility for this video, like, the only thing is it has to be the entire journey on a bus route. How I'm going to be ranking these, I've got quite a bit of criteria. First of all, I want to talk about the route itself, how good I think the route is. Like, for all I know, like, I could have done the entire journey on my favorite bus route in the world, and it could still place at like 76th on this list just because everything went cataclysmically wrong. Next up, any like delays or anything, like spoilers, this is probably going to end up quite low on the list because of the delays. This bus route is probably going to end up quite high because of little delays. Next up, my third criteria is the actual passenger experience, so, you know, what the bus was like, as in what vehicle it was, how many passengers there were, all that jazz. And my last criteria is how did the FRV actually turn out? Because if it's an FRV where the windscreen was steamed over for most of the video, then that's probably not great. If it's one where it's been raining, that's even worse. So, without further ado, I'm filming this, as you can probably tell by, you know, the fact that it's the 16th of November, I'm filming this well in advance. I'm working on the intro before I've even started reviewing the FRVs. So, yeah, I think step 2 of this is going to be just rewatching all of the FRVs I put out this year and seeing which ones were my least and most favorite. So, yeah, see you in a couple of weeks. The Miguel's group can respectfully go piss off, and so can the people who decided that they should be allowed to tender for the 13 and 16. They are an awful company with awful buses, and I think Handicabs are doing a much better job of running the 68 because, by God, that EVM City line is absolutely class. So, when I tell you guys that I just completely forgot I filmed this, like, I mean it. I mean, I get that, like, January was not a very memorable month for the channel, but, like, I don't normally forget what I do FRVs, so this is quite intriguing, I will say. But yeah, after I watched this, I remembered how absolutely hellish it was, because, I mean, for one thing, the bus just reeked of piss the entire time, and I don't think buses are always meant to reek of piss. On top of that, the bus was about 15-20 minutes late arriving into Livingston bus station due to a vehicle fault, and whilst it is normally Stratas that it's allocated to, this time included, the bus that it was meant to be was an Enviro 200, which, while not great, are much easier to film on than Stratas, because these buses are, for lack of a better term, they're absolute ass. It also didn't help that this is one of the rattliest stratas I think I've ever been on, so that wasn't great. And it's also worth noting that, like, Loading Country 72, I did the FRV on that about a month later, and that is quite a bit higher on this list because the route is extremely similar for quite a large portion of both of their routes. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that there is extremely little point in returning to this one, I don't know, ever. Okay, so I said that E200s are better than Meller Stratas. When it comes to filming, they're not better by an awful lot. Yeah, I don't think it'd take a genius to work out how absolutely shit the viewer retention on this video would be. One thing I always forget when I'm doing FRVs on E200s is that there isn't a handlebar next to the buggy bay, so it's not like I can just attach my camera onto that. So I have to try attach it onto the backrest for the wheelchairs and buggies and whatnot, which is a huge hassle. And yeah, sure, the drive down to Elphinstone might be nice, but I don't think that makes up for how absolutely horrendous the first minute of this FRV is. Yeah, most local routes like the 88 are normally not great. However, the reason this one is so low is because of the bus it was on. Yeah, no joke, Stagecoach 547161 is probably one of the worst buses I think I've been on in recent memory. For one, it's an original Optare Solo from 2005, so I think you can imagine how rubbish it'd be. And as per usual with Optare Solos, it smelled like piss. Yippee! And another thing is, the engine sounded like it was about to explode every time we pulled into a bus stop, and then when we tried to start moving again, the engine would just get very loud, and it'd start revving up. However, the bus wouldn't actually drive, which is why a lot of the times we're just frozen in place for like 2 seconds of the video just because of how rubbish the bus is. So yeah, I can't wait for some replacements to come in, with all hope some maybe like 24 plate SRs will come in soon, because by god, these are not the kind of buses you want to be running in public service, mate. Sure, North Queensferry is lovely, but if I want to take a bus down to Battery Road, I'll just take the 89 or 89A, thanks. Yeah, East Coast buses really handicapped the 106 when they rerouted it to QMU in May 2023, and it definitely did not help extending it back to Fort Kinnaird in March of 2024, because the delays on the A1 have made it one of the most unreliable bus routes in East Lothian. If I want to take a bus between Hannington and Fort Kinnaird, I'll either take the Prentice of Hannington 108 or Borders Buses 253, thanks. Yeah, I'll just stick with Stagecoach's Express City Connect routes, thanks. Lothian Motor Coach's Plaxton Leopards are some of my favourite coaches. However, the shuttle for the Royal Highland Show is one of the most uninteresting bus routes I've ever been on. Not least for the fact that, like, come on, it's a shuttle that takes 5 minutes out of the way. Go figure. My FRV on one of the long 111A journeys is quite a bit higher on this list. The middest part of the 124 if it was on roids. Screw it, let's do these three together. See, here we have the holy trinity of 2024 98 FRVs, and I'm thankful I included the 2024, because holy god, this would make the most lame quintet I think I've ever seen. I put the one into Edinburgh City Centre higher than the other two, just because the other two, it's very hard to tell which is which. You could show me both and I probably wouldn't be able to decipher which is the April one and which is the November one. Yeah, I think if I want vintage buses, I'll just stick to Alexander RH's, thanks. But to be honest, I think the most interesting thing about this FRV is that it was the last one I ever filmed with my Wolfgang GA420 before it broke, and then I ended up upgrading to an Acaso V50 Elite, so yeah. AliExpress Value X6, and also I filmed this at the wrong frame rate. Next. I did FRVs on both 3s in Dunfermline this year, and this one happened to be less interesting. I wonder what... Yeah, cheers for filming this for me, Callum. It's just a shame that this route is extremely bland and uninteresting. And thank you, Charlie, for filming this for me and by proxy introducing me to how fucking terrifying the M8 is in Glasgow city centre.
Boring! Boring!
Look, any excuse to go on an Alexander R-Series bus is a good excuse. However, the only thing is, in my eyes, GVVT was mid. Okay, now I've just gotta ask, how is it that a bunch of 13-year-olds came up to me on this bus and asked if I was a quirked up white boy busting it down sexual style, yet that isn't the most interesting part of the entire day trip? If you wait another 30 or 40 entries, the actually okay 15 FRV will be a bit higher up. So these two might seem like an odd coupling at first, but the reason I chose it is because they were both filmed with a 25-pound camera I got in 2020 that I didn't use because the sharpness is dialed way too up and the colors are very much off. And the only reason I was actually using it is because this was the halfway point between my Wolfgang GA420 breaking and me getting my new Akaso V50 Elite, which is why I had to crack this bad boy out to make up for that. But yeah, as you can tell, the sharpness is way too high up and the coloring is off, so it's hard to watch this without giving yourself a migraine. I put the X18 above the 27 as it is a better route, but yeah, both of these are pretty trash, I'm gonna be honest. So here we have two of Stagecoach's local routes in Glenrothes, the difference between the two being that the 30 no longer exists, whereas the 38 sucks. In the end, I put the 30 above the 38, as whilst I do think E400s are better than Optare Solos, I do think that Woodside Estate is probably more interesting than Pit Euchre is. By the way, entry 110 is a spoiler to tomorrow's video, so that's just a warning, thank you. And now I have a new light, so that's pretty cool. I think it's needless to say that this one's, brighter than ever before. Oh god, no! Yeah, no, the Brightbus Airport Express is extremely inferior to Lothian's Airlink 100, I'm just gonna say it. But yeah, the reason that I put the 25th of July one as 110.5 is because I just forgot to put it into my spreadsheet altogether, so I thought I might as well just sandwich it between the other two, as it is okay. I think it's slightly better than the original, but it's a bit worse than the newest one, as that was on a double-decker instead of a single-decker, and E400 MCs are not only better than E300s just in general, but as well for filming, since, you know, it's a double-decker. Yeah, so what I learned from my Glenrothes day trip is that most of the buses through Glenrothes are really quite uninteresting. I do say most because there are quite a few good ones, but the local routes, nah. Better than the Brightbus Airport Express, worse than the tram. Yes, I just said that. Big whoop. What a fight about it. The 20 was better when McGill's ran it to Ratho. God, what has my life come to? The 38 got the better peak journeys from Longstone, I'll just say it. This bus route starts at a Tesco. I think you guys are aware of my one-sided beef with Tesco. Yeah, so since I'm ranking the FRVs instead of the routes themselves, the next 50 or so FRVs are fairly interchangeable with one another. I think some are better than others, but it is sort of mishmash jumbled together until sort of entry 55 or so. By the way, in the next clip you see me, I should have blue hair, which is intriguing. The 24 is really just a boring route, isn't it? Yeah, so this bit? Yeah, that's what the past 3 months have felt like to me. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I just don't like the 3 that much. Okay, so as you can see, there hasn't been much effect with the hair dye, so I do kind of look the exact same as I did, except my hair looks slightly different. But we now have less than 100 FRVs to go, so yippee! Next entry. I will reiterate, just because the 49 isn't designed as an end-to-end route doesn't mean that the route map for it doesn't look f***ing hysterical. You know, a bus route is fairly uninteresting when the most interesting stretch of the route is goddamn St. Leonard Street. The only reason that the gentrified 98 is higher than the actual 98 is sheerly because I think I might have oversaturated 98 FRVs, whereas this is only my second X12 FRV, so... Yeah, the X22 is fairly similar to the route of the tram, isn't it? Oh well, to be fair, the tram route is actually fairly alright, and so it's the X22 too, so... Bit annoying it's only a special service, but yeah, I don't see demand outside of it. There barely even is during events. Bit annoyed that this was the only FRV I got out of this trip, but I mean, I did try an X56 FRV, it's just that the driver wasn't really too fond of that, so this was what I had to settle with. To be fair, I wasn't going to get much better anyway, because Perth's bus network is very middling, I will say. I wouldn't say it has any amazing bus routes. Yeah, the Galashiels trip was very much cut from the same cloth as the Perth trip, just with the general content and whatnot. Overall, I would say that the 70 was slightly more enjoyable than the 9, which is odd because I do think I prefer E200 EVs over Scania Omnicities, but... I mean, the 25's alright, I just think the FRV I did in May of 2023 is better than this one. Is it ridiculous putting these at 91, 90, and 89 respectively on our list with 137 entries? Yeah. Do I care? Nah. The 30's an alright route, but it's really shrunk on me after the past 5 or 6 months of fairly regular use. I put the March one above the Boxing Day one for 2 reasons, one of which being that I find the South Gall diversion more interesting than the normal route to Clarmiston, and also some of the music from the latter one. Yeah, call me crazy, but Attack of the Killer Queen is genuinely my favorite video game song, which is saying something because most video games have genuinely awesome soundtracks. What is it with video game composers being so good? Like, genuinely. I think Toby Fox and Lena Raine really smashed it out of the park with this one. I think it goes without saying that my hatred for the 9 is definitely over-exaggerated for content. I mean, it's the southern half of the 41, and a slightly improved version of the northern half of the 8, so I don't have much reason to dislike this one, and to be honest, I don't. I think it's actually a solid route. I just shit on it because it replaced the 41. I want the extra £3 Lothian charged me for a network day ticket instead of an X99 child single back. Yeah, if I want to go to Queensbury, I'll just stick to Stagecoach Express City Connect, thanks. I prefer the X27, however I put the X28 one above it since I think the FRV came out quite a bit better than the X27 one. 34A is better. And now we have 2 Express City Connect services from Stagecoach, which are fairly similar to each other in all honesty. So these 2 routes are literally just expresses between Edinburgh and Kirkcaldy in the case of the X61, or Glenrothes in the case of the X59A, that are actually slower than other routes into Edinburgh, I kid you not. Both of these are exactly the same to me, however I put the X61 above because the driver on it was absolutely awesome. The 8's an alright route, it does what it's meant to do very well, but otherwise it's quite a bland route. At least the FRV turned out alright though. The 34 is not my favourite route, get over yourselves! The 15's extension to Portobello was probably good, but I think they could have maybe extended it to Pennycook so that it didn't have to wait 35 minutes at the depot once it terminated at Portobello. Also, this was the first FRV I filmed with my Acaso V50 Elite, which I think the coloring looks much more accurate to real life than the Wolfang GA420. Just comes at the cost of file sizes being much larger. Yeah, Eve's roots are awesome, actually. I mean, yeah, most Eve routes aren't anything special, but nor is most of East Lothian's bus network, so, I mean, you can't be too surprised. And on the subject of East Lothian's bus network, we have the 26, Lothian's most frequent local bus route. Admittedly, I put this one fairly low on the list, as I think the one I did in September of 2023 is much better, as I think the Seton Sands branch is more interesting. So, this is probably going to end up quite low on the list because of the delays. This bus route is probably going to end up quite high because of little delays. About that. Personally, I think the 5 should be numbered something like the 85, but that's just me. Also, my camera braked at Dulwich, so when I got to Ferry Toll, I then had to speed back up to Hall Beath and then get back to Fife Leisure Park to finish up this FRV, so yeah. So Central Scotland Bus's very own Paul McNeil, he stays relatively near the X51 and he takes it to Livingston with his mates roughly every 3 weeks to a month. However, despite this, and despite me literally having the timetable saved in his photos, he always asks me what time the X51's meant to arrive, going off of the timetable. Dunfermline has some solid routes out of the city, but boy, the local ones are pretty middling, I will say. Also, I filmed this at 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS like my X44 FRV. God damn it. And that's part 1 of this video done. I intended for it to be 2, but I've got several reasons as to why. If you want to see the remaining 68 entries, you're gonna have to wait for Monday, so yeah. Overall, I'd say the FRVs have been quite middling, but I don't think we have a lot of FRVs that are actually really, really good. I think I can think of about 3, perhaps. But anyways, gonna get to editing this, make sure it can get out on time, which it should, and then I'm gonna start cracking on with part 2 for this. So, till next time, see you on Monday, folks.